I've just got back from my first cleaning job. This was going to be the longer one. Look at the state of me. I'm absolutely knackered. 6 hours. Building was absolutely filthy. But first and foremost, I really have to go and have a shower and wash my hair. I am absolutely gross. Thank God this job is only over the road, because the walk back was just exhausting. I was so tired. I've been up and down stairs and pushing hoovers and mops around and you name it. As a cleaning job, I've done it. So I'm going to have a shower, freshen up, hopefully feel a little bit more human. I'm also absolutely starving. I had breakfast at 9 and it's now 5 o'clock and I haven't had anything else, which is not usual for me. So I'm going to have this shower first and foremost, and then do food, and I'll do a little catch up in a bit. Okay, shower done, pretty much. I'm absolutely knackered, but I'm going to get straight on with dinner, because if I sit down for 5 minutes, I'm not going to get up again. And I'm really hungry as well as really tired. Yeah, so first clean done. It was expected to be a big one because they haven't had a cleaner in, I think now 7 weeks. But my God, the place was filthy. It's an office full of men, and I don't want to be derogatory in any way, because I know there are lots of house-trained men out there. But these guys, knowing they don't have anyone to come and clean for them, just decided, well, we're not going to do anything. We're not going to maintain it. So I did all the kind of standard cleany stuff, really. Hoovering, mopping floors, the kitchen areas, the bathroom, but I also did some dusting of the workstations, so their desks and around their computers. Oh my God, it's the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. There were crisp and cookie crumbs all over the carpet. The dust on the work surfaces that they must have been just working amongst for weeks was gross. I moved the keyboards just to dust underneath, and it was just, don't even think about it. Coffee rings on the tables. Oh my goodness. Actually, the workstations were worse than the bathrooms. Unbelievable. But 6.5 hours. I haven't done the maths yet. £66. More than that, I don't know. 70 quid, something like that. I haven't even added it up, because there's halves in there and I've got to work out who pays who, because it's actually split between 2 businesses. But I've made more money today than I thought I would, because I only bargained for doing the 4 hours. So that's been a really good start. They might get me in twice over the next week, in 2 2-hour chunks. So a few days ago I had a call from the clinical trials people, and they've asked me to come in 3 days later than I was booked for. So like I said to you, they oversubscribed the cohorts, and they wanted to move me on to a few days later, because I didn't realise they were having 2 sets of people going in over the course of a week for the 9 days, and their first one's now full. So I don't know whether it's because my blood results meant that I was better suited for the second set, because they are both slightly different sets of things going on. I don't know the full details. All I care about is, am I going to get in there, do the work, and am I going to get paid? Still don't know that, of course. They said my bloods were fine, so the only thing that's now stopping me really is just turning up and being in that number of people who are surplus to requirements. See what happens. So now I'm going in several days later, I think, to tide them over, because I won't be in for the whole of the next week. They want me to come in and clean in 2-hour chunks. So that means instead of me thinking I was only going to do like a couple of hours, they might want me in twice. Fine by me. I'm happy to take the work. Because it's money. So, that's been a good start. And it was probably just as well as I was doing that, because it was the women's football final this morning, which I couldn't see because I was going off to do this cleaning job, and we lost to Spain, which is pretty dreadful, but at least I didn't have to witness it. I just read a headline on the news as I was halfway round on my cleaning session. So, onwards and upwards. We shall see how things go in, 4 days' time. And once I'm in the unit, provided I get in, you're not allowed to talk about it with the outside world. They're clinical trials, they're not social media fodder. So once I'm in there, I won't be able to say anything. So I've batched up a few shorts and a couple of other things just to fill up my feed for while I'm away, presuming I am away. And then I will give you updates when I'm back, provided it's 9 days later. Or if it's not 9 days later, I'll tell you I didn't get in. But yeah, I'm just going to go and finish making my dinner now, because I'm so tired, and I'm hoping that eating something will help. So that's my update. That's all there is. It's the next morning. I felt like a truck had run over me yesterday. I didn't realise how horrifically unfit I was. My back was really bad for the rest of the day, and my legs were aching like mad, and oh, my feet hurt. 6 hours of cleaning. Should I feel like that? I don't know. It's a lot of cleaning to do in one go though. And it's up and down stairs and carrying a heavy hoover and all that sort of thing. I also got a blister on my hand, which really stung yesterday. This morning I don't feel as bad, except now I can feel that I've pulled all the muscles in my shoulder from doing all the hoovering and the mopping and everything with my working hand. So yeah, I'm rubbish. But you know, in future I'll probably only be doing like 2-3 hours in one go, so you just get used to it. The other thing that's happened today is I finally had my last working tax credits payment, which means I've been able to put in my application for Universal Credit. This is a managed migration. I didn't volunteer to go. It's reached the point where they are throwing us off working tax credits now, so I have to apply. Now there is a thing called transitional protection, so if you have been migrated and you haven't gone voluntarily, theoretically your income, and I don't know if that means that's all the working tax credits income or some of it or none of it, I don't know, is protected. And apparently it means that they don't take savings into account, because it's protected for a transitional year whilst you sort yourself out and get your work and all that. And you have to go through all the same hoops for the Universal Credit as everyone else. You have to do like a work search journal, all that sort of thing. I don't know if I'm going to get it because of my savings, which I use as a passive income
and emergency savings because of things like having to pay my rent 6 months in one go. It's really weird actually, because I'm classed as self-employed, so they haven't asked me how much I actually earn. So they asked me for all my savings, and they ask you to list all the bank accounts and what's in everything. They don't ask the status of any of those accounts. Most of mine are fixed and locked and I can't get at them. And they haven't asked how much I earn. So I don't quite know how they're assessing my income to decide how much I get on Universal Credit. It's a bit of a weird one. I presume that now I've done the initial application, provided all the documentation, etc., etc., that they might ask me that. And I know that being self-employed means that your income is erratic and what have you, but I would have thought they would have asked that. They've asked for my CV, they've asked for all sorts of things, asked me what I'm doing for work. So I've listed the things that I'm doing for work, but they haven't asked me how much I make from any of it. We'll see what happens. I've only just put that application in today. I presume I get assigned with a work person, like a job seeky person. And you never know your luck, they might actually ask me what I earn, and then they'll maybe have a better understanding. But whatever, I'm waffling now because I don't really know what's going to happen with this. That's it. Update for the day. This week has turned into a really frustrating week, and I'm not impressed. I'm used to things being kind of in my control, and I know what's going on with things and communication skills and all that sort of thing. But this week's just been really frustrating. So I'm chasing an outstanding payment for a market research I did back at the beginning of July. It's supposed to have been paid by the 11th of August, so it's now almost 2 weeks overdue. I've chased twice and heard nothing. It's really unusual. They're usually really good about paying. So I'm chasing that and not knowing what's going on. I've done my Universal Credit application. No idea what will happen with that. I'm waiting to hear about a new cleaning client before I potentially go in for this clinical trial. Not sure what's happening with that. It seems to be pending awaiting interview, even though it said there wouldn't be an interview. It's just going and clean. So I don't know what's happening with that. And just to make things extra frustrating, my cleaning client from last Sunday hasn't paid me. We agreed that bank transfers were better than cash. I don't have much use for cash, so I'd have to go to the bank and put it in the bank. And as we all know, nobody's got a banking branch anymore. So we agreed that, and I said, okay, I'll text you when I'm done, because we didn't know how many hours I was going to be doing, and I'll get the details from you, and I'll send you an invoice split between the two businesses as we discussed. And he's just not responding to any of my messages. So I've drawn up the invoice, and I have found the main email address for the company, and I'm going to email it over, and if I don't hear anything, I'm going to contact the agency and get them to have a word, because I felt instantly the first time I went in to meet this company, to meet the chap who runs it, that he was disorganised. So I was kind of expecting that. I spotted that and he admitted there were lots of little jobs around the business that he hadn't got around to sorting, so there were lots of things that were a bit like things needed fixing that no one was doing. And I think stuff just doesn't get done. I don't think he's organised. He was late to our first meeting where I was doing the claim because he was just running late. And so I got the vibes that he's not a very organised person and just does things as and when. And that really cheeses me off, because £66 might not be much to him, but to me, that's like a whole year's food budget. And it means that I can't get that money into the bank earning interest where I need it to be, which is part of my income. So I'm really annoyed about that. So I'm waiting, and if I don't hear anything by this lunchtime, I'm going to send the invoice. And then if I haven't heard anything by the time I go in to the clinical trials, I'm going to call the agency and ask them to chase it and maybe take them off the books, because I refuse to be messed around. It seemed like a really good deal, but if it's going to be like this every single time I want to get paid, then it's just going to be irritating. You know, are you running a business or what? There may be a good explanation for it, for the silence and the lack of response to messages that up until I did the clean were fairly consistent. It just gives me the wrong vibes. Anyway, so it's really frustrating. I hate weeks like this, and of course I'm waiting to go in for the clinical trial and still not knowing if I'm going to actually get it, because I could still go in there and not get it. So literally everything that's focused around income at the moment is up in the air. That's really irritating, because I like to pre-plan. I've got everything in my spreadsheets and I can't tick anything off as done. So it's weird, because up to the end of last week everything was really going in the right direction, and now this week suddenly everything's stuttered. And I'm going to stay positive. The positive vibes, and the visualization of things going right, I will continue to do, because it might be making a difference. If I start thinking negatively about all these things, they might all fall apart, and I'll be back to square one again. I might end up with no clinical trial, no cleaning job, probably not going to get universal credit, and still chasing an outstanding marketing research and end up with nothing. Lull before the storm. Anyway, so that's where that stands. I may not update again this week, because yeah, I'm a couple of days off going for the trial, unless something fabulous happens with everything in the next couple of days. Theoretically, you won't hear from me until after that. At least on this subject. As I said before, I've already loaded up a few things, so it doesn't look like I've just vanished off the face of the earth. So there we are. Annoying week after a couple of really, really good weeks. Hey-ho, that's how it goes. I just wanted to throw in one quick bit of good news. I have finally had my tenancy renewal through, and as I hoped and kind of predicted, my rent has gone up by £50 a month, which means that my rent here is now £600 a month. And as I've mentioned before, I have to pay that twice a year in six monthly instalments, because I'm self-employed, and although I have a good credit rating, it doesn't count for anything. I realise that I am in an incredibly lucky situation to have rent that is this cheap, when housing is going up so much, rents are going up, mortgages are going up. I read a headline this morning that said that it's actually now cheaper to rent than get a mortgage, for the first time, I think, since something like 2010. And I realise that I'm really lucky that I'm financially in a situation to be able to pay that 6 months in advance, and that's because I'm incredibly careful about my money. I'm incredibly careful about my savings and about where I put my money and how I try to grow my money, which means that I can do that. And I've been paying like that for almost 6 years now. So my rent every 6 months now, I pay £3,600 for each 6 months, which is probably less than some people are paying for their mortgages every couple of months at the moment. And it's just a horrible situation, but I realise I'm really lucky. I'm not complaining about that. That rent just going up £50 a month is an absolute godsend right now. I can now plan the rest of my year's finances, because everything else is already covered. All my bills have already been reassessed for the year, perhaps apart from my gas and electric, because my monthly bill has gone up because the deduction that I had on my unit rate, which I didn't know was there, has stopped. I'm now paying more every month for my gas and electric, despite using the same amount. And it's gone up by about £10 a month. So that might go up. I'll have to see what happens. But for now, we're all good. And that's one great bit of news for this week. Just arrived at the clinic. I'm not sure what's going on. Had a job getting in the car park because it's all gated, and I don't know how I'm going to get into the building. But either way, I suppose I'm going to find out whether or not I'm in or not. It's been a chaotic day. My brain's all over the place. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm here. So there we go. Bye.